And now, it's time for the RPM Podcast. And you were just petting your laptop.
So, no, no, it's actually a technical problem.
It's frozen on bustyasianbeauties.com right now.
Are you ready for me to have an Eric Bredin moment? Race fans are kind of ignorant because... So this is what you sound like, Eric. So, because...
That's fantastic.
But it's because it's not explained to them.
How the am I going to edit this?
He dropped the bomb.
You know what? You.
Oh, man. All right. I guess that's time for a break, Josh.
I've been struggling to find the right words tonight.
Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, and welcome for the 108th time here on the RPM Podcast.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
That's right. To my right,
You giggled at that?
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Giggler of the Week, Nick Rendo. Nick, how are you, sir?
What's going on, man?
It's good to see you.
It's good to see you,
It's
too.
good to see you.
It's good to see you.
To my front, producer and mastermind of the RPM Podcast, Josh Matthews. Josh, how are you, sir?
I giggled when you said at your front.
And a packed porch edition of the RPM Podcast.
I was thinking that Pee-wee's Playhouse.
Yeah.
That's the secret word.
We have the two Rigglemans. Alexis, how are you? Good?
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. You seem to be happy to be on the RPM Podcast. I know I asked you that twice. I asked how you were, and you told me I already asked you that. But now we're
Yeah.
recording, so I'm glad your day is good, and I'm glad you're happy to be here with us again.
Okay.
Shut down.
I'm used to rejection, I guess. And behind Josh, and behind all of, I don't know if you can see him on the screen, Tim, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Thank you for having me back.
See, that's how you answer, Alexis.
Even that was a little short-winded.
Well, it's okay, because we got a lot to talk about here on the RPM
What are we going to talk
Podcast.
about first?
We're going to talk about the results this weekend here at the NASCAR Watkins Glen Series.
Positive.
I put my foot in my mouth on that one because of the whole Brian France thing, which we got a lot to talk about.
Results were positive. No,
Yeah,
it's
that was funny, Josh. Man, I just walked into that joke right there. So the truck series were off because they raced at Pocono, and they don't race often, which I think is an issue. However, the Xfinity guys were part of the doubleheader weekend with the Xfinity and the Monster Energy Cup series at Watkins Glen. Joey Logano finished.
Can you say the
first.
name of the track again?
Watkins Glen.
Okay.
Watkins.
Yeah, how do you say
Watkins?
We're in New Jersey. What's that clear liquid that you drink?
People are going to make fun of me, but it's water.
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 Water. Water.
New Jersey says it wrong, apparently. I don't know.
Anyway,
Still better than New
they were
York.
drinking a lot of water this weekend because it was really hot in Watkins Glen. Joey Logano won the race.
It was
Adrian
also
Allmendinger
raining.
Finished second.
Yes, it
That's
was.
right. Oh, that would have been a better segue on my end, but hey, it happens. Yeah, they had the wipers on the car.
Yes, they did.
It's a very rare sight to see these stock cars. Well, that's not very rare nowadays.
I think
but
they
who would have thunk?
They have them on the cars, anyway, when they go to the road courses because they do that. But
Well, they actually test them in the wind tunnel, and apparently when it's at a certain angle, because this is the only, because as you know, stock cars are generally geared to mostly, obviously, turn left, and they found out there's definitely like a downforce aerodynamic help when turning right.
exactly.
With it
I'm
angled
trying
at the
to
perfect
figure-
angle.
Now, here's the thing.
Which you would imagine only the bigger teams really know that exact precise angle because, only the bigger teams really have access to a wind tunnel.
Right. Well, I was exactly where I was going was the downforce thing that they were talking about during the Xfinity race.
Right.
And now I'm all for the side force. Totally makes sense, as you're turning. Because, you've seen maybe those Tim will correct me on the name of the type of cars that they have. But they're like almost like a flat cart, but like a modified at the same time. I've seen them on dirt. And they basically have like a giant sheet of plexiglass on the side that acts as a big, not a wing for downforce, but for side force.
Right.
And
Like a
keeps
shark
them-
fin almost.
Yeah, but it's like taking a wall of a house and mounting it to a car and then
Yeah, I know
going
exactly.
so it won't spin out. And so I see some of the side
for a
force. Yeah, I'm talking about size.
They took
Bad
half our
drop
porch.
right there.
Build a wall.
God. Anyway, this went south. So
Oh, boy.
fast.
You're welcome.
It's going there.
Nick realized it too.
Already off course here.
Yep.
Anyway, Joey Logano won the race.
Wait. I just want to know. I get the side force thing. How are they getting down force?
What, like Watkins Glen?
No, with a windshield wiper.
Oh, simple. It comes over the nose onto the windscreen, obviously, and then depending on the angle it's at, it's like off, so it gets caught in it, and obviously gives them.
So you're
downforce.
saying
it's minuscule. It's hundredth. I wouldn't even go. I was going to say a tenth at most. I'm not even going there. It's hundredths. But you know what? When qualifying's as close as it is, these days, anything helps, of course.
No, you're right. I hadn't thought of it that way as channeling the air to one side or the other, but I'm still like.
I don't think it's channeling. I think it's more so just like it catching the air.
Well, now if you notice too, though, when they pit stopped for some of the people didn't even have their windshield wipers on the car. They literally had to put them on.
Yeah.
And that's why they didn't win.
Well, that was a big talking point
Breaking
in
news.
the Xfinity race that it actually rained during their practice, and 3 or 4 people went out because they're like, oh, it's not going to rain in the race. Why? Risk versus reward. Too much risk at wrecking our car.
That was a hot topic.
We're talking
yeah.
about Xfinity, not Cup. So wrecking the car it's devastating for any team, but it's especially devastating for them because a lot of these teams don't have the funds of a Cup car. So it really
Exactly.
is risk versus reward. Unfortunately, they ended up running their first quick laps in the wet during a race, so it would have ended up, obviously, practice would have helped.
Huge problem that I have with. I love that they did the rain tires. I love that they do that and get involved and keep it going. Hang on. But there's a huge problem that they don't let the teams choose.
Dude, we are on it tonight, Josh.
NASCAR tells them when they can go to
God
the rain
forbid
tires.
you let the person out on the track actually experiencing and feeling this make a decision.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no,
on top of
let's save it
that,
for the guy in a booth who has no idea.
but what if you say, hey, we're going to go to our inters now, or go to full wets or something like that, and let the team decide and get on the wets quicker, and then let him try to find puddles and whatnot, instead of waiting for NASCAR to say, okay, everybody come in and get your rain tires now. Here you go.
And it wasn't clear to the teams that was a live pit road. A lot of teams didn't realize that was a live pit road, and it shuffled up the field.
Yeah,
absolutely. That
because
was not clear.
at that point, you should treat it like a competition caution.
And I believe the last time it rained in Road America and Montreal previously, when they made that call, the sanctioning body, to switch onto the tires, it was not a live pit road.
Right.
Yeah.
So, as one of those guys that
crazy
sit
stuff.
and make those decisions in the tower that has no knowledge or even what the track's like, in the World Karting Association, we have to give them a 15-minute heads up when we declare a driver's option, and we give them 15 minutes for the class that's on the grid, and for the guys to get ready to switch tires from the slicks to the rain tires.
But what if they're in the race? Because you're talking about cars on the grid.
Right.
What if they're actively racing?
Well, usually it'd be that halfway get up. If it's not halfway, then we stop the race. There's other rules and stuff like that. That's.
But are they allowed to change tires and then go back and complete? Or is it
And
treated like a
right.
competition caution then?
If it's not halfway, we bring them back to the grid. They change tires 15 minutes, and then they go back on the track, and it's their new race.
So you start back from the beginning,
Correct.
or so those
From my knowledge.
original laps don't count.
Correct.
What if you got wrecked? Do you get to go back in it
There
now?
are other stipulations, stuff like that.
Yeah,
I don't want to.
that gets hairy.
I didn't think we were talking about puddles on the RPM podcast today. So.
You know what's fascinating is I guess it's a different compound. Obviously, it's a different compound from open wheel, but in open wheel,
No, it's
when,
not. It's the same.
when a dry line forms, they actually look for the puddles. Not only do the tires work better, but the real reason is to cool them because obviously they delaminate so quickly.
That's
and
the same.
in NASCAR, was it?
Yeah,
Yes.
they talked about that.
Was
yeah.
it? Okay.
Yeah, they'll wear
Okay.
out too fast because they're too soft.
Okay.
It's the same exact problem.
They called it chunking.
Gotcha.
It was chunking.
Okay.
We gotta talk like
I call this
Southern
chunking
Americans
the
chunking.
Goodyear.
We're gonna chunk our tires up.
Anyway,
Yo, those rooster tails though. Oh my
anyway,
God.
we just,
wait.
okay.
One other thing.
I don't want to offend half our listeners.
I didn't see anybody loosening or removing the sway bars, which they had done at a previous where they're running in the rain the whole time. Maybe because it was going to go back dry, but that would allow
Right.
them to gain a lot of
Time.
traction and get a lot better. I swear.
Traction time.
Who's vibrating?
You know, it's not that it didn't rain a lot. It's that red flag took up so much time that I think it would have been green under rain a lot longer than people realize. But effectively, I think they only got like 6 or 7 laps under the rain.
Okay.
Under heavy rain, I would say.
Well, NASCAR Cup regular
But
Brett.
who's counting?
NASCAR Cup regular Brett Keselowski was in the race. He finished 10th. Wasn't a strong showing for him in that number 12, but his teammate Joe Logano ended up winning the race. As said it before, Adrian Allmendinger second, Justin Allgaier third, Ryan Preece fourth.
Who's going to be going to joining the Road America Xfinity race?
Thank you, Josh. Someone's paying attention to the show sheet. NASCAR champion Bill Elliott will be piling the number 23 GMS Xfinity entry in Road America.
I still like James Hilton better. Rest in peace.
No, this is going to be so cool. This is going to bring in so many
I
viewership.
think it's gimmicky.
No, totally. But it's it's gonna be awesome. I'm gonna who's not gonna watch that?
He's not that old.
And he
He's
was
62.
just in the bus stop, actually
How old,
spotting
Sam?
for his
He's
son.
62.
62. Okay.
He's 62. He's not that old. I think it's cool. I think it's cool that we're going to segue into his son winning at Watkins Glen this past weekend on
spoiler
Sunday.
alert.
Ooh.
If they're listening to the podcast, they want the spoilers. Duh.
I like DRS.
Okay, anyway, so Chase Elliott finally won his first Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series race in a thriller at the end of the race between
It was
him
exciting.
and Martin Truex Jr. They mentioned that, as coming across to get the white flag that he had, I think,
Capital One or Credit One Bank.
right.
Yeah, the credit one
That
back.
he had one lap to get right.
All 7
and-
turns. That's all he had to do was get 7 turns perfectly.
And in the midst of him beginning that lap, he screwed up turn 1.
Tire locked up right into the first corner, completely off the track.
Man, if the car sounded like that, it sounded like he would. So anyway, luckily for him,
See, luck.
Stop. That was talent. That was great.
Luckily for him, Martin Truex Jr. did not get enough traction coming off turn 1.
Now you could
Therefore,
just see that he got
the
like a little throttle happy.
The
Just-
4 car lengths remained the same throughout the lap. The NASCAR coverage was really cool. They had the different drivers and stuff. They had a Bagley from MRN, Jeff Burton, Dale Jr. all around the track, and it was really cool because it was like almost like not a horse race, but how they do it. They have each
They
disc
hand it
jockey
off
or
to each
announcer,
other, yeah.
right, to one another, which is really coal. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was towards the bus stop and the carousel through the backstretch there, and it was really cool to see him and
He
really
was-
talk into. He was really into it.
Yeah, he was. He was very excited.
He was really into it.
And also, luckily for Chase, Truex ran out of gas.
Truex ran out of gas. I talked to my boy Christian Hicks because he listens to the show. Hey, Christian, that we both agreed that if Martin Truex Jr. had a chance to give him the old chrome horns routine in that lap, that Martin Truex Jr. definitely would have won that race, but he ran out of gas.
I
Well,
don't think
that's-
Truex would have done it.
That was definitely not the reason why he didn't do it. I mean, when he got loose out of 1, there
Well,
was
he
so
ran
many
out of
car
gas.
lengths. Yeah, but it doesn't matter. There were so many car lengths
That's
between
about
them.
4, which is nothing on a road course.
Yeah, I think there was like a lot of room because he ran out of gas with I think 2 or 3 turns at most
Right.
left in the lap.
Yeah.
I mean, when you watch the whole race, that wasn't enough to like close.
Right.
I don't feel
Truex
like I don't
was
know.
trying to
I
set
wouldn't like put his win down to because he ran out of gas personally.
No,
No,
they're still.
I'm just saying if he would have got to him, it probably would have been a different story.
Yeah, if he
Chase
would've got
Elliott
to him,
earned
yeah,
this
yeah.
win.
And
No, I agree.
had Truex been
Oh, I think if he would have
gained
got to him, he
any,
definitely would have given him the bumper. We were talking about that on the way down.
I don't think he would have. You want to know why?
Yeah.
Because I'm going to bring this back.
Uh-oh.
No. Didn't everyone hate Darrell Waltrip for quite a while? And then all of a sudden he got wrecked by Earnhardt, and then everybody started hating Earnhardt because he pulled a D-bag move.
I thought people were okay with Earnhardt doing that, but okay.
No, but
I don't know,
that
it
was
wasn't really a lie.
I'm going way back.
Okay.
But it was this weird thing. Remember we had think about the rivalry, like Keselowski versus Carl Edwards. And then wait, how many people were pro Hamlin after Logano wrecked Hamlin? What was that? Was that Fontana?
Yes.
Okay, and then Hamlin broke his neck or
Yep.
something like that, or whatever. He was
they
hurt,
came together
and
at
everybody was
Bristol
everybody felt terrible for Hamlin.
Yeah.
But then Hamlin became the bad guy as soon as he bumped Chase at Martinsville.
So your point?
Yeah.
My point
yeah.
is, I don't think Truex worked really hard to build his likability and his reputation and his
Right.
brand. I don't think that he would pull a move like that, knowing that Chase is, for no good reason, everyone's new favorite driver. Riding in on the coattails of his dad, everybody loves Chase. No, the same reason everybody loved Redneck Jesus and all that. I don't hate Chase Elliott. I just think he's a little too immature right now. I think he got fast tracked to the Cup Series. Maybe a little too early.
But how many people did though? Joey Logano,
No, but just hear me out on this.
Brad Keselowski.
I think
I don't know.
I think his popularity is unfounded.
I mean, he won an Xfinity Series title.
But I think his popularity is still unfounded.
He
by
drove the 24 car after Jeff Gordon. He inherited
that. I'm just saying.
about every 24 fan as well, plus riding in on the coattails. I
Yeah,
agree with
and
that.
now
I agree with that.
a lot of
I'll give you that.
the Redneck Jesus fans are going to Chase Elliott
But
now.
how many fans does Alex Bowman have because he drives the 88?
Not as
Not
many.
as many as Chase. I agree with you. But
I like Alex Bowman. You can come on the show whenever you want, Alex.
I
Sam
agree.
likes the Outcasts.
Ain't that the truth?
Any new slide job, Sam?
No. No slide jobs this weekend, Josh.
I respect that. Though I just feel like, in the last lap of a race, in the heat of the moment, that's probably the last thing going through his mind.
But
personally.
I disagree. I disagree
You know what?
because I think you. Wait, just hear me out. I'll make this brief. I promise. I just think that with everything that Truex has had to go through to be likable and really not have any big enemies or anything like that, he wouldn't want to screw that up by taking out the most popular kid and then be the villain for the next 10 years or more.
That's a fair point. We'll have to get Martin Truex Jr. on the show.
Would he possibly nudge him or move him? Would he intimidate him? Absolutely. But would he...
I just wish he didn't get loose coming out of one, so we would have the answer to this question. Because he would have been right at his bumper going into the S curve.
But that's my other problem with Chase is he choked several times in the last 3 laps.
Fun fact: the exact same number of runner-ups as his father before one win. Both have 7 runner-ups before their one win.
Illuminati.
I'm just saying I think he got lucky. I don't think he earned that win or deserved it. I think it was a lot of crew.
Busch was so much faster than him in the beginning.
And there were some mistakes on Kyle Busch's end this weekend. Blocking up tires and such.
But that was the pit road issue that really set him back. I agree with what you're saying.
Yes.
No, Kyle Busch.
Okay.
Really got
they both
set back
had some issues
from what happened on pit road.
Okay.
But if you watch Chase, at first this is his second road. All right, so he's in NASCAR a few years. So not as many road courses as Kyle Busch. And you can see Kyle Busch is much faster in the beginning. But when Chase gets behind him, he's smart enough to not just make a move on him. He actually sits behind him and learns his line and all this. And not only does he learn his line, he learns how to drive his line a little bit better.
I think he has talent. I don't think he's a bad driver. I just think that...
Junior kept saying how he has a different line through the bus stop. And if you watch, he took it much tighter. He would take the first left into the second left kink before they go around that, what'd you call it? That turn going onto the backstretch? Going onto the
bus stop.
That's the bus. No, the turn going around the backstretch, that sweeper.
Oh, the carousel.
Yeah. He would close so many car lengths through there, through the bus stop.
Now, here's the other problem I have, real quick, with the whole Choke Elliott thing, is what? Anyway,
he finally won a race. He's no longer Choke Elliott. He finally won
3
a race.
times at the end there.
But he finally won a race. I'm not saying I'm a huge Chase Elliott fan, but we got to give this episode to him.
All right, here's the other thing. What about that judgment call where NASCAR said, oh, well, he hit the crew guy, and the crew guy routinely carries the equipment out of the box, so there was no penalty.
That's, I think, inconsistency.
Because
but every sanctioning body has it. We see it in FIA.
I can't get into this conversation.
He wouldn't, where he was, he would not have run that far over. And as far as I'm concerned, the hose on the gun was still actually touching the car as it was pulled out of the box by him hitting. So I think
it's very clear, especially now on August 7th at 9:40 at night, that NASCAR has a lot going on for him right now, and I think they're doing everything they can.
Really
to be
quickly,
consistent. I'm not getting into it. I'm not getting into it. Good.
All right. We have to do this for Brennan. You know what I'm going to say, right?
Hot dogs?
No. The balloon moment of walking.
Okay, yeah. So Chase Elliott wins the race. For those who don't know, it was a few mileage race. The top 3 finishers in the order was Elliott, Truex Jr., Kyle Busch, Daniel Suarez had a good showing, and Eric Jones. Strong day for Joe Gibbs. Martin Truex Jr. runs out of gas, about 2 or 3 turns left. Chase Elliott does his burnout, and what do you expect? You're right, he never does burnout. He celebrates, tries to get back to victory lane, however he can. Why is that, Nick Rendo?
He runs out of fuel along the backstretch, and Jimmy Johnson ended up passing him, not realizing he was out of fuel, throwing it, as Sam Ballard would say, aggressively into reverse, comes back, and here's a 7-time champion, 84 wins under his belt.
Say goodbye to that transmission.
Pushing, Chase for his first win to the front stretch to do his interview.
He was just trying to get
really
cool good luck to rub off on him. That's all it was.
Alexis mentioned on the car right here what cool moment that was to see Jimmy Johnson throw it in reverse and push his teammate back to victory lane, didn't you?
Yeah, that was my favorite part of the race.
Your favorite part of the race?
When it was over.
But you're a Kyle Busch fan, aren't you?
No, I hate Kyle Busch.
Oh, that's Bailey, right?
And Tizzy.
So who do you like?
Martin Truex Jr.
Martin Truex Jr. So you didn't want to see Chase Elliott win?
I think it's good for him.
Okay.
It's his first
See, Josh? See, you got to hang out with Alexis more.
Everybody loves it.
See?
We all love Chase.
I got to stand up for what's right.
Anyway, Dawsonville, Georgia's real happy to see Chase Elliott win the race.
Yeah, that dumb
little pool hole
horn thing.
Siren thing. Yeah. Sounds like a hurricane siren.
I'd be like, have a
crap.
sportsman light. So,
True. So it was a good race as NASCAR heads into Throwback Weekend at Darlington.
All right, so, and obviously Chase was excited and partying like it was 1999. We know who went to the party and partied real hard.
I don't.
You don't know who went to his party?
No, I
Partied
wanna know so
super
bad.
I
mega-
lied. They're at Michigan this coming weekend. Huge gaffe on my part. They're going to
Brooklyn.
Michigan this weekend
Brooklyn.
for the Consumer Energy 400. Man, I thought.
All right. So anyway, moving forward, at the awesome Chase lucked his way into a victory after party. Brian France must have partied a little too hard.
He pulled the Spencer Gallagher. And you know what's funny? This past weekend was Spencer Gallagher's Cup debut. How fitting was that? So anyway,
I love the memes. There's like one of Jeremy Mayfield is, hey, can I give you a ride? It was terrible. So anyway, Brian France arrested for a DUI. They said he was almost twice over the legal
0.18,
limit.
whatever it was.
And having oxycodone pills in his pocket, which I'm guessing must have not been prescribed to him.
Right. Because of the him getting in trouble is because it wasn't prescribed to him. But the
Right.
dude has money. The dude is, and I saw it, I believe, on SportsCenter. He is probably one of the most influential people in sports, and he did this. On the brink of the season of NASCAR saying, hey, we might be looking at selling the France family, saying, hey, we don't want this anymore. And then they do this. So they replaced him with Jim France, because if one France can't do it.
I thought Helton would jump up and take that spot. I think he would have done a better job.
I mean, this is all
That's
political.
That's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think Helton would do a better job.
Right.
I think he has more of the more interest in keeping the sport good. But real quick with Brian France, what position was he?
He was a CEO.
CEO of NASCAR. Okay. And what kind of tolerance policy does NASCAR have with drugs? And
0.
Huh. Would you look at that?
Ding, 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 ding.
So they replaced Brian France with the once vice chairman of NASCAR, Jim France,
Yay.
Okay.
I don't know. I just.
who was Bill France Jr.'s brother.
Are we going to talk about whose dad he is? Is this gonna be our-
I'm just listening to our listeners who Jim France is. That's all I'm saying.
Who is
That's all I'm
Jim
saying.
France's senior
So he was
son.
Brian France's nephew.
former roommate.
Anyway, so NASCAR has a new leadership. I think this is probably the better thing for the sport because I remember I don't know if it was on the podcast.
You don't think he's just going to be fed by Brian sitting in rehab saying, all right, tell him to do
But
this.
did Brian? Okay, I really shouldn't be getting into this conversation. However, do you really think that Brian had any control in the sport? I think that's why NASCAR is where it is right now.
everybody blames
is
him
because
for
of the lack
everything.
of control Brian France has on the sport. Because you want to know what? And I'm not going to say it, but if everyone in the garage area thinks you're a butthole, why would you want to go to the races? If everyone's not going to respect you for the job you've done, why are you going to do your job? Why not just sit there and collect a paycheck? Who was going to kick Brian France out of his spot, out of his job? Well, Brian France did. He got himself out of the job.
No, he did, but I think people were the drivers and teams are still showing up and running races.
Right.
The seats may not be all filled in the grandstands, but there are still people going to races.
Right. But
and I don't think
and there was a good showing at Watkins Glen as usual.
It was a very good showing, and
Right.
I think it was an overall pretty darn good race.
More short tracks, more road course races, Jim France. That's all we asked for.
Yeah, I mean, I don't overdo it. Just don't do the Roval. Do more like Watkins Glen or go to Lime Rock or so. I don't know.
So Brian France spent Sunday night in jail. He was posted bail afterwards. and the whole-
How did he have enough money to do that?
Not touch it on. That's because he owns NASCAR, not an actual racetrack. If he owned a racetrack, he probably wouldn't have all that money.
No, he wouldn't.
Unless you're Bruton Smith.
Oh.
So with that, I think that was the biggest news in the NASCAR headline, unfortunately. And out of all the weekends to do it, NASCAR had a great race weekend in both the Xfinity and the Cup Series. And Brian France screws it up by doing this image to the NASCAR brand. I'm sure Monster's not happy. Their fans aren't happy.
Monster's going to bail anyway.
On the same breath, I think this is a good direction. Jim France did everything he could to avoid this NASCAR spotlight. However, he cannot avoid Brian France and his stupidity. Thus, this happened. So
I don't think he's going to stay. I think it's going to be very temporary.
we'll see what happens. I think this might give the France family more of a reason to sell, or for more reason for the France family to stick around because they might be able to change something.
Do you think they should sell?
Glass half full. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think they should sell?
Do I think they should sell?
Your personal opinion?
No.
No? You
No.
think they should keep it in the
No.
family?
I don't think it should be kept in the family. I think NASCAR's in a really vulnerable spot right now as a business that I think doing this will just shake it all up. And unless you take the Donald Trump approach to it all and try your best to find the right people and not afraid to get rid of it for an even better person, NASCAR's not going to last. My opinion.
So they shouldn't.
Because of the people they have. The France family itself has a lot of decent people in the spots. Slowly bring the new people in. Don't just sell it and then tell someone else good luck with it. As a fan of the sport, I don't want to see NASCAR sell. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
Not to have an Eric Rowan here on the show. That's all I'm saying.
It took me a minute, but
let's keep our
now.
sport alive and not just kick the France family out. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, I'm sure Bernie Ecclestone would be interested.
Why not?
Yeah.
He helped the Formula One guys out. So,
Alonso can finally drive something he might win in.
When you realize
Anyway,
there's a seat open at Red Bull,
speaking
but
of
they're gonna
Bernie
use
Ecclestone-
GP2 engines.
F1 was in Hungary 2 weeks ago. We didn't get to talk about the show this past week because Justin Bonsignor and Freddie Kraft was on the show. However, we have Nick Rendo in the house for his Rendo recap of Hungary. Whoop whoop. How was it, Nick? I don't know. From what we watched before we did the show, it seemed to be a pretty decent race.
Yeah, no, it
It
definitely
was
You seemed very
exciting.
upset.
It was. No, it was. It was a good race. Yeah, so basically going into the weekend, everybody, thought
He's doing the recap thing again.
Red Bull.
I mean, this is the Rendo recap.
Yeah.
All right. Well, when we get to that spot, I want you to stop me, and we're gonna have the same
There's
exact
a lot of
little
I
combo.
have
well,
a whole
please
thing.
just punch me. It's all good.
Punch you? Okay.
Yeah, then I'll just know.
You got it.
So going into the weekend, Red Bull and Ferrari were perceived to be, the two top teams. It was going to be pretty much a bid for the win between the two of them. Mercedes being the best of the rest. And on Saturday, qualifying, it ended up raining.
Really, you put them as the best of the rest?
Yeah, on this track, definitely. It's just like Monaco, very tight. Hungary is basically Monaco without the walls.
I wouldn't say best of the rest. I would say just the best on that.
No, I mean, they would be the best of the rest because Red Bull and Ferrari would have been faster than them this weekend in dry conditions. I mean, even Friday practice looked exactly like that.
All right.
Now I have a question.
Yeah.
In NASCAR right now we have the top three.
Right.
They call them every week. How many teams do you consider being the best of the best? 4, 5, or just the two?
Just two.
And then everybody else is racing for second or third?
For those who don't know, it would be
For third.
Mercedes and Ferrari.
Yeah, well, pretty much since two teams have two cars, everybody else is racing for fifth.
Okay.
That's probably the best real. If you don't drive for Ferrari and Mercedes, the best you can hope for is fifth.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fair enough.
unless something happens, which happens.
Yeah, a lot of them aim for, they're like, oh, we think we could have gotten fifth or whatever. I mean, unless you have, a transmission blow up or you have, somebody.
Or something very exciting, happen in the race, which has happened on more races this year than not.
Correct.
Which is
correct.
Which is a good thing for the sport. I'm all for it. But Saturday, rain comes down very, very hard, and rain equals the playing field. Suddenly, the package that you brought, that's 2/10 quicker than the other guy, doesn't seem to matter all that much anymore when it starts to rain. And of course, Lewis Hamilton, it was hammer time on Saturday, and he got the pole. And Bottas ended up coming second. So now it was a Mercedes front row lockout, which was not what anybody expected. If you bet those numbers, you'd be super rich right now because nobody expected that. And Hungary is a hard track to pass on. So, they went into Sunday feeling pretty good. They were pretty confident that they would be able to hold everyone off, especially with the dirty wash coming off of that Mercedes. So I believe Raikkonen was third and Vettel was fourth. Interesting story that Ricciardo ended up starting, I think, they totally did his tires wrong, in qualifying. I think he ended up starting 17th. Really low down the order, which was going to be exciting because Ricciardo, nobody overtakes like him, so it would definitely be exciting for him. Watch him go through the field. So the start of the race, Vettel overtook Raikkonen, but the two Mercedes were still, holding him at bay. Vettel was on a harder compound, and both Mercedes did their pit stops, and now Ferrari's strategy was to leave Vettel out and hopefully get that gap grown that he could just jump them in the pits, which is not exactly what happened. So I'm not a Monday morning quarterback.
Well, you said about Vettel, did they have any plan for Raikkonen as well?
I think Raikkonen was really just following Mercedes' strategy. They were going to roll the dice with Vettel, but have Raikkonen to cover, off whatever happens.
Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
so that was just the typical number two driver stuff, Nothing too crazy there. But so I'm not a Monday morning quarterback. So now Sebastian just about has the gap on Bottas for second.
Okay.
And now Hamilton would be switching to the harder, slower compound. Vettel would have been switching to the ultras. With the lighter fuel load, he would have made it. And Ferrari's goal was if we could jump Bottas, we think Vettel can get to Hamilton's gearbox, and maybe not
take him.
guaranteed, but hey, maybe he can do it. But it was vital.
But better second than
Absolutely.
third. Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely. And it was vital to pass Bottas on the pit strategy. So Vettel, is working overtime, gets the gap up to, I think, he had maybe like a second to do it, which is a decent chunk of time.
Yeah.
It's definitely. And now there's about 5 cars, lap traffic. And Ferrari has Vettel go through the lap traffic, which in the moment, I'm not a Monday morning quarterback, I did not agree with, because you can never hold your pit delta and the gap going through lap traffic. It just holds you up so much. And
yeah,
of course,
you lose so much time trying
Absolutely.
to fight and get through the dirty air and get around these cars or whatever. Even if you're essentially lapping them, they're still going to be holding you up to some extent.
always, especially at Hungary, because we're not talking Silverstone, we're not talking, Hockenheim. This is a tight track. It doesn't look like Monaco because it doesn't have buildings and walls next to it, but I
Right.
promise you the width of this track is not all that different from Monaco.
Okay.
It's just Monaco with grass. So he lost about, I think 3 or 4 seconds going through the lap traffic, and, I'm like, this is awful strategy. So now I'm like, well, I guess their only option is to leave him out even longer and see now on this worn out rubber, can he extend the gap back out? Because obviously you can't pit, because you might as well just seal the deal on the
Are
race.
you okay?
I'm tired.
Sorry.
So
continue.
now you're good. So they ended up pitting. So he comes out third, and now I think he's trailing behind Bottas for like 20, 25 laps. Just insane. And now to the point where Raikkonen ended up closing back on Vettel's door. At this point, Hamilton's pretty much gone.
At that point, Raikkonen was running better lap times.
He was.
So, all right, now this was talked about on the broadcast.
Yeah.
In your opinion, and I'm talking about strategy. I'm not talking about who you want to hang up a
Oh boy.
picture of in their underwear or something like that in your room here. I'm
It's so weird. Yeah.
Do you think
would
that
I
they
switch
should-
the cars
would you have let?
for pure strategy,
Yeah,
for a better result for the team?
yeah.
Well, I know this. I know Kimi Räikkönen can't win the championship because he's too far mathematically out, and I know if Sebastian Vettel
I don't care
does,
about. I'm talking about this race.
I know if Sebastian Vettel wins the championship, it's a $40 million payout for my team. So I would rather Sebastian finish third and get more points and keep the Drivers' Championship alive rather than
But you could
Kimi.
have him pass back later.
Yeah, I heard that ridiculous thing on TV, and
Oh,
I'm going to
boy.
say the same exact thing that I said in my living room. I'm not trying to be mean. That is like the biggest pipe dream I've ever heard. Come on. So
I disagree.
Kimi Räikkönen, 39 years old over here, a kid and a wife back home, is going to pass Valtteri Bottas. Then Vettel's going to slot behind Bottas again, even though he followed him for 25 laps and couldn't get it done. But now he's going to get it done. And now you're going to tell Kimi to lift, let Sev by, and somehow Bottas isn't going to end up in the heat of all this?
He could block.
Oh, come on.
Plus,
This sounds all too perfect. On paper, Josh, it sounds great.
Plus,
and I'd be
if
all
Bottas-
for it. In real life, it's not going to work.
If Bottas was behind Raikkonen, you think about the slipstream there, the draft, and you don't think that Vettel could get a good run with that?
It's hungry.
Ah.
It's hungry. There's no slipstream here. DRS don't even work. You open the slot, it did nothing. Nothing. It's not even a 200-mile-an-hour track. I hear you, Josh. Maybe. I'm not buying it. I'm just not. It's too out there.
If you say so.
But here's the most exciting. Sorry, Sam.
No, good.
No.
I'm trying to speed this process along
All right, so here's
here.
the craziest part. So Vettel goes for the pass on Bottas. Bottas is squeezed to the bottom. Really should have lifted because, when you have more than half a car length, you control that corner. Of course, he does not lift. Runs right into the back of Vettel. How this tire did not go down, I have no idea. Bottas loses half his front wing. So now Vettel's in second. Raikkonen slots right behind Vettel, probably keeping a distance from Vettel, waiting for that tire to blow up because we all thought that tire was going down, including Kimi. But it didn't. It didn't. So the two Ferraris are now second, third. Hamilton is long gone. Bottas is driving around, not pitting. 3 laps to go, half a wing. Ricciardo's coming from 10 seconds back. Passes Bottas, thinks it's going to be an easy move around the outside. I mean, he's racing a guy with no front ring, right? He's just going to let me by. No, Bottas goes into the corner at race speed, thinking his car is going to brake without downforce. Why, I have no idea. Flies right into the side of Ricciardo, almost putting him into the outside barrier. Ricciardo, I think, loses like 8 seconds on Bottas. In 2 laps, drives back up with half a floor and repasses Bottas. Wild stuff. Bottas ends up getting a 10-second
I'm going to argue
penalty.
here, Bottas, regardless of your radio or what you think
2 points
he said
on his
the radio,
super license.
I think Bottas clearly gave the spot back. He did stay out of the way, and he did lift. Bottas
Well, he was
gave
on the
him
outside this time. Yeah, it was wild that with half. I've never seen a car with half a front wing actually stay on the racing line and send the other guy
Josh
wide.
is looking for a fight here on
That
the
was a
RFM
new
podcast.
one. I've never seen that. But
I'm feisty today.
pretty lackluster race, but towards the end, I think it's going to go down as a good race of the season just because of what Bottas did. But it was interesting to watch Bottas drop from 2nd to 5th in the final 5 laps, and that's not the first time we've seen that this season. It's not even the second time we've seen that this season. So I'm not going to pin all the blame on Bottas because I'm not too good with him right now. I'm going to say it's interesting that Mercedes will put him in such a precarious position to allow him to fall like that, via tire strategy. They'll do anything to him to ensure a Hamilton victory and ensure a Hamilton championship. So I think that's really worth noting. It's a very interesting thing.
So Lewis Hamilton won the race, Sebastian Vettel second, and Kimi Räikkönen third, finished out the podium.
Silly season, baby.
Speaking of silly season,
Breaking news I just saw on my laptop. Lance Stroll's dad has purchased Force India.
It's not breaking news.
Well, I just noticed it. Or is it not?
It's been a week.
No. I just saw it. Maybe he was in bidding process, but now it's official. His dad owns Force India. So where does Lance Stroll go next year? Is there an open spot at Williams? I'm not even going to pretend that's interesting because it's not. Because there's an open spot at Ferrari. Everybody knows Kimi is not getting re-signed. And there is definitely an open seat at Red Bull Honda for next year.
So where's Kimi going to go?
Ricciardo signed with Renault, which is a very, very interesting choice because it's actually statistically a slower team than Red Bull. So is he banking on the Honda engine being that much slower? Because it's not in the Toro Rosso. Toro Rosso has finished 5th multiple times this season. And, last year they couldn't even get out of Q3. The Honda doesn't break down at all. It's the Renault that breaks down. So he's switching to Renault to drive to continue with Renault next year. I personally think the reason he's going is Max is clearly the #1 driver at Red Bull. He's Christian Horner's new golden boy. And just like I said about Bottas, Christian Horner is starting to do that to Ricciardo. And that's never a good feeling, especially when psychologically you're still a #1 driver in your mind, because I know he is. He thinks of himself that way. He thinks of himself as a champion, and he's a great driver. He should think of himself that way. But he's switching to a lower team. He's going down the grid, and he's hoping to do a Hamilton thing, because when Hamilton went
I'm surprised he
from
didn't
McLaren
jump
to
to
Mercedes.
like McLaren.
Well, yeah.
Well, I don't know, because to me that seems like he would think that he's going up, and then I think McLaren's still going to be miserable.
Right. Their talks, McLaren was heavily interested, but everyone kind of thought that Ricciardo was going to stay at Red Bull because
where was he going?
He had a really good
Where
season.
was he going to go? He wasn't going to go to the 2 top teams.
But my question, why was he leaving?
I think he's leaving because he's not getting along with the administration. Because when you make it open to Red Bull and Christian Horner that you want to leave his team, he's very vindictive. And he makes sure that he makes your life hell. He did it to Sebastian Vettel. When Sebastian Vettel didn't even say he wanted to go to Ferrari. He was at Monza. He won the race. He got booed because he wasn't in a Ferrari. And all he said was, it must be really nice to win in front of that crowd in red. It must be a beautiful thing. That's all he said. And his life changed that day. And that was the last season they ever drove for Red Bull.
So, with that, who fills in at Red Bull?
Who fills in at Red Bull? Exactly. Kimi Räikkönen, actually,
It's going to be Alonso.
I don't think Kimi Räikkönen is going back to Finland because I think he's actually been tied to Alfa Romeo, almost to do a seat change with Leclerc. So that's going to be an interesting story to watch.
This is juggling my brain.
I agree. It's going to be interesting.
Anyway, I think Fernando Alonso will be over at Red Bull next year.
Definitely not. Not possible. Red Bull only hires you if you're a teenager. Red Bull does not want someone, 36 now. With one or two seasons left.
I think Max Verstappen has a lot to learn, and I think Fernando can give it to him.
Yeah, no.
I agree with Sam, but I do kind of see Nick's point because if you're Red Bull, you don't want it's Red Bull. That's a young kid.
Carlos Sainz, seriously?
Yeah, it'll be Carlos Sainz. You'll probably hear it next week, 2 weeks. Carlos Sainz will get signed to the team. I think he'll probably be teammates with Max again because they were teammates on Toro.
So will the headline be Carl Sainz with?
Oh, goodness me.
I don't know what's going on.
So the F1
did get an offer from Michael Andretti for IndyCar a full year. So
who got an offer?
Fernando.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting storyline as well. I think the Lance Stroll thing is really interesting because Force India said that they have the components made up, on their computer to be a faster team, but they don't have the money to implement the R&D research. So it's, a lot of people give Lance Stroll a lot of criticism. They say, his dad bought his seat in Formula One, and now his dad just bought 2 more seats in Formula One. So it looks like he has a safe time ticket career in Formula One.
Yeah, but we've seen it go. We've
Force
seen that
India
go south
is now
before.
owned by a Canadian.
That's
Force Canada.
Yeah.
Force du Canada.
Royal.
Anyway,
Canadian.
so we have a lot of silly season to talk about in the F1, the Formula One break for the next couple of weeks. Good to see. Hopefully, have you keep coming back and giving us more of the inner scoop there, Nick Rendell.
Hey.
with that, we move on to Mid Ohio.
Yeah, Mid Ohio was an excellent race. I think Shimtown must have been excited because it was amazing. Sato got a penalty for avoidable contact. That was a weird kind of. I kind of disagree on some of that stuff. I think that if you can make contact without completely destroying somebody. I don't know. It's just there was actually a fair amount of contact overall throughout that race, more than you'd see normally in an IndyCar race. So
Especially in Mid Ohio.
Yeah. You okay there?
Yeah.
She's bouncing her microphone off the table. Oh, Sam, I have a question. This is something I don't know why I didn't notice right away because it's something that I actually really liked in the past. The number pods, the number things,
Right.
On top.
Yeah, the digital.
Yeah,
TV
why'd they get
screens.
rid of those?
I think it was a safety concern, wasn't it?
Ooh.
I could be wrong.
I can't imagine how that was a safety.
That'd be a great
concern.
Eric Brennan question because he'd probably know the answer to that.
Yeah, but he'd have to show up.
Let's see.
I'll let you look that up because that bothered me because I like that you could actually see not only the position they were in, but you could also see how long their pit stop was. You know, I thought it was a really neat thing. I wish they'd bring it back. But I also have to admit I didn't notice it right away either. Seriously, if you watched from the start of the race, there was I don't know what you'd call it. It was an odd start because he backed up the field and like he brake checked them and then took off. And they were arguing on the thing about whether or not he was at pace car speed, and then they didn't even know what the pace car speed actually was. One said 35, the other said 50. Yeah, the announcers were a little behind. Yeah.
They switched, I guess, the manufacturer of the number pods.
Okay.
And because of the vibration and stuff to the cars, they're not working properly.
Still better than that safety car from St. Petersburg. Am I right? That's when the Corvette crashed.
Yeah.
Right? Sorry, Sam.
Anyway, actually, after they were arguing over the speed of the pace car, there was a really awkward moment in the booth. Like, it basically was like one guy basically
It was
told
a
the other
jumbled
to
up
shut
start.
up. Well, yeah, but in the booth, just the announcers, there was like one guy basically told the other to shut up, except he didn't actually say it. I don't know. It was really weird. Anyway, they couldn't get the Chilton's left front to come off. They couldn't get. Yeah, they were struggling. They tried different guns. Eventually, they got the tire changed. That was an interesting moment for me because it seems like, you know, as much as we want to talk about NASCAR having pit gun issues, you know, and then we had Raikkonen's issue with the left rear. For IndyCar to now have issues, I don't know. It was, dude. Seriously, I can't believe you didn't watch this race, Sam. It was,
Dude, I had stuff to do.
I don't care. I watched it. I made time.
I should have.
Seriously,
I
it
should've.
was side by side action. There were a lot of great battles, especially mid pack, throughout the entire race.
And Alexander Rossi won.
I was going to say. I appreciate
Followed
it.
by Wickens and Power.
Will Power, Newgarden, and then Dixon.
You know, between Chase and Alexander with their victory laps, this has been very interesting. Alexander Rossi went for a donut and actually ended up beaching his car.
In the grass.
Unfortunately.
And
So
had to get towed
between
out.
NASCAR and IndyCar, we did not get to see any burnouts, donuts at all.
That's very true.
It's very sad.
But another, I mean, now see, we've seen Wickens be incredible on, you know, ovals, high speed stuff like that. Now he gets a second. He finishes second on a road course. I mean,
And he would have won that race. That I think the opening race, St. Petersburg, where him and Alexander came together.
yeah.
So
I mean, where
he's an
did this
incredible
guy come from?
Dude, no one knows. But we're so glad he's here.
I mean, he's putting on a
blast to
show.
watch. He's a blast to watch.
Oh my god, I can't even.
We got to have him on the show.
I would love to. What?
I love to too.
Are you sure?
Get him on.
But just where did he come from? What was his background? Does anybody know where? Because I
I
mean,
think he's Canadian.
that's not what I meant. I meant like, what did he race?
I think he went to Harvard.
Oh, okay.
Yo, the stats guy's on.
There we go. I was going to say, because, you know, most of the guys will watch him. Everybody gets all excited about Chase Elliott because he did something in Xfinity, blah, 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 blah. You know, you hear the names, you start getting used to them as they come up.
Wickens had an incredible rookie year so far.
Whoa, what?
He finished second twice in Formula 2. So it looks like and the GP3 series as well, and Formula Renault. So it looks like for a while he was on his way to Formula 1.
But I just don't recall
So
hearing
I guess he
his
was on
name.
the European season. leg, and then it looks like he just made his move over to IndyCar. So that's probably why we haven't heard of him. Yeah, Formula 3, Euro Series, Formula 2, GP3, it all makes sense. But DTM, that's regarded as one of the hardest
DTM
series
is
of racing.
insane.
Yeah.
The racing,
very, very interesting.
So overall, the racing was pretty good, pretty violent for
Because
Mid Ohio.
I'm not even going nearly in depth because unfortunately I know we couldn't do it last week because of we had guests on and all, which was incredible. But this race is I'm not doing anything near justice. This was an incredible race. I think
we'll have to share that 30-minute clip.
Yeah, because even they had like a 2-minute highlight thing,
and that didn't do it just.
Not
and
even.
this 10-minute conversation won't even do the race justice either.
You're just going to get bored with us and be like, "Ooh, how could it have been good? It's IndyCar." No, trust me, it was beyond worth it.
So with that, I think we're done with open wheel. We're done with stock car racing. We're going to head into the local segment here on the RPM podcast. We have a few drivers might be calling in, so stay tuned. Like us on Instagram, follow us on social media.
Spoiler alert.
If you subscribe to us on iTunes and you leave us a review, we will give you a T-shirt.
It can be a bad review.
It doesn't matter. You can say how much you hate Josh, how much you hate me, how much you love Nick Rendo. Doesn't matter.
Or that we don't put enough Alexis on there.
Right. I tried talking to her because I got mad crap from some listeners that I didn't talk to Alexis last time she was on the show. However,
she doesn't want to talk back. You're talking to her. She's not talking back to you.
Right. I'm not good with the ladies. Anyway.
Slide down.
We'll see you on the other side of the RPM podcast. Stay tuned. If you don't come back, I don't blame you. Hey, everybody. This is Sam Ballard from the RPM podcast. Planning an event and looking for a great time? Go no further than RC2U Racing for all your portable family entertainment. RC2U turns any occasion into a competition. Check them out online at rc2uracing.com. That's our friend Dan Thomas at RC2U Racing. Got to go check him out on his website. And he does all of our he's pretty active on Facebook, so go check him out.
Yes, and it's better when he has power.
That's very true, which he does not. And that's a whole other story.
They shut the power off on
him. But we're not shutting the power off episode 108 here because we had a packed porch, but now we have even packer porch.
Packed.
Is it fudge?
Whatever that means.
Yeah. Packing's fun. So who you hear and see is AJ Slideways. AJ, how are you, sir? Congratulations on your 4-cylinder win this past weekend at Wall Stadium Speedway.
Thanks a lot, guys. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. What's up, Timmy? What's up, everybody?
Yeah, so we got Tim, Lexus, Josh, Nick, Sam, and sportsman driver from Wall Stadium Speedway himself, Kyle Scisco, who you don't see but you're going to hear. Kyle, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good. How you guys doing tonight?
Ah, there you go.
Sounds great.
Yeah,
he sounds really good.
You sound pretty sexy right now, Kyle.
It's a little delay.
Yeah. Keep talking.
Yeah. There's a reason why you don't see him, folks.
Do you remember that scene from Howard Stern, the Private Parts movie?
I don't think anybody knows the scene.
I think AJ does.
Why does it have to be
I think that's a little before my time.
That's right. That's exactly why it has to be.
At least you said it.
I know what you're talking about, Josh.
Good.
I miss having modified drivers on the show and not Howard Stern jokes, Josh. No offense to you two fellas for coming on. Anyway, we're going to dive right into it for Wall Stadium Speedway and try to wrap up this show as soon as we can.
I broke Sam already. Jeez.
Only takes Howard Stern and Kyle Scisco not being shown. Modified driver Jimmy Blewett won again. This past weekend, Kenny Van Winkle
What did he win?
And Tyler Truex third. He won the modified feature at Wall Stadium Speedway.
Okay.
The first feature, the Legend Car Race, goes to Malcolm Caro. And the second feature goes to Nowhere Corner. The Sportsman, Kevin Davison, finished first. And our very own Kyle Scisco finished second. Nice job, Kyle. Eric Lane third. And AJ won the 4-cylinder race, as mentioned before, with Darren McLaren finishing second. And then that's pretty much it. It looked like a short feature night at Wall Stadium. I was not there. I was in North Carolina this past weekend.
AJ, did you happen to have a gun pulled on you while you were on the track?
Why do you ask that?
It happened down at Bowman Gray, I think, in their 4-cylinder division, so I just figured I'd ask if that's a common thing.
Yeah, that was pretty wild. The guy.
So.
Yeah, we're going to get into that in a little bit. Sam,
I'm going to interview AJ like I'm pretending to be Eric Brennan. AJ,
Do you have hot dogs?
I don't have hot dogs, but I have questions for you. Which are better than hot dogs? Because you got that cold beer in your hand. So we're ready to go.
Almost as good as Hot Pockets, I guess.
I'll have to buy you a hot dog later. So, AJ, this is your first victory of the year, correct? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, it's actually my first victory ever in a big car.
Oh, okay.
I haven't raced big cars very much. I think only like 7 or 8 times I've been out and practice. A couple features here and there.
You ran Turkey Derby in my car.
Yeah, I know, but that was what I mean, that was here and there. I said, I'm not.
Well, that's recent. You make it sound like it's been spread out like once a year or something.
It was for a while there. My first couple of years when I started go-kart racing, I got a couple of seats, but that was my first real big car win.
Mm-hmm.
And felt good.
So you say big car. Before the big cars, where'd you race, or what did you race rather?
I started racing go-karts, senior champ karts at Wall Stadium. I guess I was about 27. I'm 32 now. That's where it all started. Is go-karts. I worked on a lot of people's cars for years and years and years, and I finally got into the big stuff and out of the small stuff. So moving forward.
Well, that's good. Are you going to be racing this weekend at Wall?
Yeah. As long as it's not raining, I'll be running the rest of the season all the way up through Turkey Derby in the car I'm in now.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, Tim, and we talked about on the show beforehand regarding the fuel in your race car on Saturday night. What was all that about?
I guess I wound up running purple fuel. There's a small, long story short behind it. I forgot my fuel can, so I went over to John Blewett's trailer, and he had an empty can, and it said, Sportsman Fuel Purple Only, or whatever it said on it. So I went to the fuel truck because I didn't want to mix anything in his jug. So I just poured it in my car, but I checked the rules before the feature, and it said nothing about fuel rule in there. So I said, I wanted to double check, make sure it was okay that I ran that fuel, and it had nothing on the fuel rule. So I put that fuel in the car, ran the feature, not thinking anything of it, and then it turns out that you're only supposed to run pump fuel. I didn't know. I checked the rules, and it didn't say anything. But apparently it was a rule. Somebody just mistakenly forgot to put it in there this season. So, I went in blind on that. I didn't really know anything about it. I just did what I thought was right, and it almost backfired on me, I guess.
Now, I'm not too surprised that they have that rule because I know the factory stocks are supposed to be like pump gas only. To me, it only makes sense that the 4 cylinders would also follow that. That's just my thing. But if it didn't say it if there was nothing specifically saying you can't do that in the rule book, man, you're set as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And, that was my argument after, they were going to DQ me. And, I brought it to their attention that it wasn't in there. And, it worked out in my favor. They said, don't come back with it. Well, I'm good for my word. I'm not going to show off with it again. I'd get more satisfaction out of, not having anybody say anything about I was trying to do this or do that. I'm a fair shooter, and I just want to win races just like everybody else,
Yeah, I'm with you 100% on that.
Well, it's good to hear, and it's good to hear that you'll be back at Wall Stadium Speedway. Now, we have Kyle on the phone here. Kyle, I know you had your breakthrough win this past year in the Sportsman Series.
Past year?
Or past season.
Week?
No, Kyle, you didn't win this past week, right?
No, this week we finished second. The week before we won.
Right.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, I got what you meant now, Josh.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So are you still riding that high, or are you down back to business? If you ever are in business.
He was working. He just got home from work. He's back to business.
Oh, okay.
We're definitely back to business. It's always cool to win on a Saturday night at Wall, but when Sunday rolls around, you unload the car and it's back to getting it ready for the next weekend. Try to do it again.
I always know my Saturday nights are going to be great when Kyle comes up to me and always asks me where he is on the grid, because he actually gets out of the car and comes and asks me every now.
Do you check his underwear?
I don't check Kyle's underwear. No.
He doesn't wear underwear, last we heard.
Not tonight, anyway.
Oh man.
Well, it seems like this year every time we go up to the grid it gets changed. So Sam's always nice enough to let me know where I gotta be. So
Yeah.
he's the man.
We work on that. We work on that at Wall Stadium. But yeah. So I always think it's funny because most of the guys stay in the car, but Kyle actually comes up to me, and I appreciate that. Though I don't really deserve the respect, Kyle gives it to me.
Yeah, Kyle's a better man than I because I usually try to run Sam over when I'm leaving the grid.
Right. Right.
I wish I was joking.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kyle, will you be at Wall Stadium this weekend?
Yes, we'll be there this weekend. Yeah.
What? That's good. That's good. For those who don't know, it's luau night, hula hoops till you drop, contest and intermission with prizes, and delicious tropical-inspired food selection.
Hey now.
Gates open at 5 p.m., qualifying at 5:45. Features start at 7 o'clock. Modified Sportsman late models, 50-lap factory stocks, and the 4-cylinders. Maybe go see AJ win again with some fuel that he's allowed to use.
Wawa pump.
I love the Wawa.
So I'm gonna start putting them on the side of the car, just as like a fake sponsor, so everybody knows.
Fake sponsor.
So Kyle, we mentioned that you just got home from work. Where are you working?
I am actually a petroleum dispensing engineer.
Is that like Homer Simpson?
Some may take that as like a good laugh, but I pump gas at a local Quick Check right around the corner from me.
Wawa's better, by the way.
Coffee. Hopefully I don't get fired or my boss doesn't see this, but I have to agree.
All right, I'll take that.
Cheers to that.
Wow.
I mean, I work for Wawa, Kyle, so I can't help you on this case here. But Jersey Mike's beats Wawa any day of the week.
And Quiznos beats that.
I mean, I think Jersey Mike's beats anybody.
There you go, Kyle.
You guys are taking.
Ain't nothing like some Dougals, right, boy?
That's it. You guys are taking over my part of the show.
Tim's food
I talk
selection.
about food, boy.
All right, Tim.
I do have a question for Kyle, though.
Put your microphone closer, Timmy. I can't hear a word
No,
you're
they got
saying.
me turned down. I'm like on.
No, I don't have it. Talk now.
Is that better?
I cannot hear Tim either.
You
Is
should
that
now.
better?
Yeah, we're good.
Come on, boy, just like you're in the spotter stand. Get that mic up close.
Kyle, I know your dad was a real successful racer, and your grandfather was a very good fabricator and everything. How did you always want to be a race car driver, and how did you start?
So when I was younger, I was into riding dirt bikes and stuff, and just tearing up the backyard. And by the time I was old enough to kind of realize what was going on, my dad stopped racing, and my grandfather always hinted towards it, but I wasn't into it. Cars just going in circles, and I was never really into it. And one time he brought me to Turkey Derby. We ended up sitting next to one of the kids that ran over that little wall, and he was showing me pictures and stuff, and I kind of thought to myself, wow, that's pretty cool. So that one time my grandfather took me to Turkey Derby, that was it. We ended up buying a quarter midget the next winter and got started from there.
So how many years have you been racing?
7 years.
Okay, that's not too bad.
I started at 12 and
How old
quarter
are you now?
midgets. I'm 18.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I remember when you were running around the slot car track.
Yeah, we did that, and that was my fill for racing for a while. Me, AJ, Jimmy used to go to the slot car track and have a good old time, and that was racing for me. And then, like I said, once we got into quarter midgets, the slot car stuff kind of stopped, and Sundays, and then we moved up to the 4-cylinder division and ran out in Pennsylvania for a little bit because I wasn't old enough to run in New Jersey. We were able to run in New Jersey, moved the wall, and here we are.
That's awesome. Now, how did you do in the quarter midgets? I mean, obviously you've done well enough to work your way up into a sportsman. So, I mean, how did you do? I mean, how was the progression from that?
So when I raced quarter midgets, I got into the game late, and I was a chubby kid. So we ran what they call the heavy Honda class, and everyone was running heavy with lead, and I was heavy with a big stomach. So I think I won think I won like 3 races over 2 years, and it wasn't nothing crazy. And once we kind of realized that we were putting ourselves behind the 8 ball before we even got on the track, we decided, let's try moving up to the 4-cylinder division. And my buddy Jack Ely was running out in Pennsylvania at the Mahoney Valley, and he went there a couple times, scoped out the 4-cylinder division, and we were interested, so we ended up building a car and got started from there in the big cars.
That was a pretty competitive class out there at Mahoney for quite a while. I remember when Brian Flores used to run up there. I used to go with him. They always had a good field of cars and 4-cylinders up there, right?
They always have a good field and a full field. I mean, there were some nights you had to qualify. They sent 4 or 5 cars home. It was a strong field.
I do remember that.
And when we ended up building that car, in the first year, my dad got sick, so we kind of didn't run a little bit, and we went back, and it was hard to get our handicap, so we ended up going every other week. And, we didn't establish a handicap, so we just started in the back. We never got a win, but got like 4 or 5 top 5s and probably about 10, 11 top 10s. So it was good.
No, that's impressive. I mean, especially if when you lose that handicap, and just staying in it is impressive, especially in those kind of circumstances.
For sure.
And then, so moving on from there, how did that go? How did you go about that?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you there. What'd you say?
I said after that, how did you move up or move forward from there?
So once I was old enough to race in Jersey, we kind of submitted my resume in to the state police, and Mrs. Krause gave me the okay. And once I got the okay from the state police, it's about halfway through the season at Wall, and we came for a couple shows. We ended up winning 2 of them, and I told my dad, I said, we got your chassis, let's try to build a Sportsman. And he said, well, we got to sell the 4-cylinder first. So I won 2 races with it. And then Saturday night after I won, I got a call. Somebody was looking to buy it. So they ended up buying it. And I had to sit out the rest of the season. But I told my dad, if I'm able to run a Sportsman, sport type modified, just like you, well, I'll sit out the rest of the year.
Wow.
I like the fact that you guys still got that 12 car out there running up front like that. You know what I mean? That car's been around a long time, and that's good to see that you're running well on it. You know what I mean? It's not like your dad don't know what he's doing. You got good support behind you. That's awesome, man. Brad, I
got a lot of good support behind me.
You come up and you've been doing real good. You know what I mean? I'm proud of you as a older person. I've known you since you were a little kid. You know what I mean? It's good to see you run up front, especially in that.
Appreciate that.
I was going to mention that, people that don't know, his grandfather was a very well-respected fabricator, and his dad. They actually built my brother Scott's first race car. And it's cool that you guys are still racing something that you guys built, It's not a Troyer or anything. You guys didn't buy it. You built it. And that thing's old. It's got to be, 20 years old now maybe?
I was going to say
that chassis,
late 80s, early 90s maybe?
I think that chassis was put together in 86 for Wall.
That would make it, I think, 32.
Born. That's the year I was born.
In 2007, I think when Mr. Flockhart took over the driving duties, they put a new front clip on it just so, keep it fresh. And it's still straight today. Knock on wood.
He just jinxed himself.
That car's been real good, man.
Wow. Well, I mean,
yeah, and it helps. It helps today for me as a driver. My dad ran it for so many years, and with just adjustments. We show up to the track and we go out for practice, and I'm not happy with the car. At this point of the corner, and I can tell him, and he knows exactly what to do, just for the sake that he built it and he ran it for so many years.
Yeah, it's got to be a big advantage, and every way possible. But like I said, it's really just good to see that thing run up front, and good for you, man. I'm proud of you.
What are your plans for?
Appreciate it. Thank you.
What are your plans for the future? You gonna stay there
for the future? For the future, this year I had high school graduation, and we weren't planning on running every week, so my mom booked us a vacation that we actually took 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago now. And, we told ourselves going in, we're not going to run for points. We're just going to, show up when we can and have a good time. And we were doing pretty okay in the beginning of the year, and we took that vacation. We came back, we ended up winning. So it's like we need to take a vacation all the time. So
what are you in points right now, Kyle? Even though missing them weeks.
I think he's third, right?
I think, yeah, I think I'm third. Yeah, I think I'm third.
And how many weeks did you miss?
Just one.
Ah, well, that's still good.
The week we got back from the cruise was supposed to be twin features, and that would have put the icing on the cake there. But luckily enough, it ended up raining that night, so we're still in there a little bit.
Yes, he's third. He's behind Eric Lane and Kevin.
Okay. So Eric Lane's leading the points then. Right?
No, I'm sorry. Kevin Davidson's leading the points. Eric Lane's second.
Okay.
My apologies.
No, that's not a problem. You guys know what the sound of a sportsman is?
They've actually been pretty good this year, Josh. They've been pretty good.
Caution's out. Still the caution's out.
Yeah. I did want to ask Kyle, what do you guys have against guardrails? I mean, you seem to just like to rip them down.
Well, on a personal note, this past weekend, I we were running second there. We got bent up a little bit, and I was going down the straightaway, and I absolutely killed the fence all by myself. Oh. And it rattled me pretty good, and I'm thinking to myself, what did I ever do to the fence? But, as you say that, it's like, we tore it up pretty good last year and the beginning of this year, so I guess a little payback there.
Yeah, it just jumped out in front of you, I think.
We want Kyle to come back on the show.
Kyle, they don't build them like they used to in 86.
I'll tell you.
That thing will take a licking and keep on rolling.
That's so bad.
I spot for the 24 car now for the rest of the season. So I'm doing like double duty at the track. I spot for Eric Lane, and then I jump in the 4-cylinder because we're usually back-to-back every week.
So, now, normally the factory stocks for quite a while were after the sportsman, and all we heard was them calling out the cautions, and you'd see every driver's arm go up like, what the hell? Just put them single file already.
That's when I get yelled at for calling all together.
I don't know why they went back to didn't they go back to being allowed to shift and starting in the middle of the corner?
Yeah, this year
wasn't that a rule last year that
they went. Yep.
Yeah, I remember.
This year they went back to the regular restart rules. Where you have the turn 3 and 4 line. First starts on the turn 4 line, and the rest is in the box. And they allowed us to shift this year, and personally, I believe that it's going pretty well. I think everyone's doing a decent job, and I just don't. I think the whole restarts, start finish and high gear, it kind of takes the whole racing aspect out of it.
I think it appears slower, so from the fans' perspective, it may not be as exciting. But if it did work and cause less wrecks, which aside from less monetary damage, to the teams, it did keep the show going a bit faster by reducing the number of wrecks. So
yeah, I can agree with that. Yeah.
I was gonna say, Kyle, as a driver in that class, do you think it helped that they used to start on the straightaway, or do you think that it's been going pretty smooth since they redid it, as in having the shift and starting in the middle of the corner? I thought it didn't change much personally when they used to do it on the straightaways.
I have to agree, yeah, because when you start there on the start finish and you have everyone charging the one, that create a lot of problems. But I think the sportsman division is like a learning experience if you want to move up to the modified. And the modified guys, if you're used to starting on the front stretch or high gear, and then you get to move up to that modified, they're going to burn you as soon as you hit the fourth turn. So I think with them allowing us to go back to shifting and regular restarts, it's helping you prepare if you do get the opportunity to move up into that modified.
That is a good point. Absolutely. I just think it definitely in the interest of, keeping the show going and not destroying stuff. I see both sides to the argument is all I'm saying.
Right.
My job's to keep the show going, so I like it.
Yes.
I liked it. I liked it.
Oh boy, you sleeping?
What's that?
Timmy, you sleeping, boy?
I'm awake.
Got it out over there.
You like took over the show. You're asking all the questions up there, so I forgot to sit here.
Tim,
No.
do you want to ask him if they tried the special meal last week?
Yeah, it was a chili cheese dog. It was very good. It was very good.
Oh, I got the sandwich at the track this week. Celebrity driver.
What was that?
I got it.
What was it? Oh, you got to pick it?
Yeah,
Oh.
top secret.
I'll
You won't
call.
find out till
I'll
you get
call
there.
you. I'll call you tomorrow. Get the inside scoop, boy.
Oh God.
Yeah, boy.
I got
boy.
the Tim Riggleman special.
Now, Kyle, we mentioned that your dad was a really good race car driver. And does he spot for you? Does he coach you during the race, or do you have a different spotter?
Actually, it's pretty funny. My dad will not spot for me. Like whatever it is, even if I don't have one, I'll go out without one. If it came down to it, just for the fact that he can't do it, he won't do it. He says he gets too nervous, and you don't want to mess anything up. So I actually got my buddy Jimmy Stanger. We grew up together. Like I said, we started in dirt bikes and stuff, and he plays ice hockey. And when I got into racing, he was always with me. And we moved up to the Sportsman where you got the radios. I said, let's try it. And, he's been by my side. And when weeks he can't make it, I have Nick Shaw fill in for me. He's a great spotter. He spots for Blake Barney on the Wheel and Modified Tour. And he's a good guy.
Good.
I've noticed, Kyle, that you guys have a lot going on with that team this year. I mean, you guys do pit towards the front. You can't miss that bright orange 12. So I happen to keep track on you, and you guys seem to have a lot going on this year. So I am happy to see your success, and I'm glad to see AJ win. And I'm glad AJ is going to be the new host of the RPM podcast because he does a pretty good job with it.
No. Sorry, I didn't.
No. I'm busting your balls.
Sam, how do you feel right now?
I got dumped.
Not yet, at least. Not yet.
As long as you buy me a hot dog like you promised, that's it.
Now, Kyle, do you have aspirations in moving up to the modified division?
It's always been a dream, and I'd love to, but it's expensive comes with racing, and I'm fortunate enough to have a second car owner, and Bill Mantori, he actually purchased a car last year with a Sportsman motor. We ran at the Spooky race last year. And he has just bought a modified motor, and we're taking it slow, we're getting it ready, and we're trying to run Mahoning or Evergreen one of these weeks, and whenever it's done, we're gonna give it a shot, see what happens.
I mean, you've definitely turned some heads. You definitely have the talent. I'm quite impressed with you. As much as seat time if you had a wall, you run very, very well. So I don't see any reason why you can't move up in the near future, and I wish you luck.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Good words, Timmy. Good words.
So with that, we're going to move
Yeah,
on.
there's a big controversy over the hot dog situation.
With that, we're going to move on to the Bowman Gray. I'm sure if you guys heard, if you follow us on Facebook, you know that Winston-Salem police officer pulled a gun on one driver at Bowman Gray Stadium this past
Should have been
weekend.
two. Should have been the whole field.
Yeah, that was crazy, and I'm surprised that guy got out of his car. The other guy spins around and tries to run him over.
Yep.
Are you kidding me? That's crazy.
I'm going to bring it up so Tim hasn't seen it yet, so I'm going to put it up on the big screen here. I'm going to see if I can do it without the. Well, that's a lot of audio right there that I didn't need. There we go. I'll just.
So for our listeners who don't know what's going on, Bowman Gray is pretty much a parking lot. It's an old football track field, and they got two drivers going at it. As one gets out of the car because of the wreck, the other one whips around and tries to ram the other driver with his.
Doesn't try to.
car.
He succeeds.
Yeah,
Right-
pretty much.
Right here, he spins around, and then he comes over and hits the car that the cops are already at.
Right.
So and
This.
the cop said he felt that the driver's actions were threatening, and I agree, man. If you're already at the car and it gets hit by another car intentionally, not just like the guy was trying to stop and slid into. No, he intentionally hit that other car. So absolutely, that guy. It's a shame the cop didn't shoot him. I wouldn't protest.
Josh. Well,
I wish I could watch it with you guys right now. I'm like sitting on my computer. I'm gonna look it up. I haven't seen it yet.
So I know it's a topic on the RPM podcast a lot. We'll ask AJ and Kyle how they feel.
Let's continue this.
However,
I like this.
I went to Bowman Gray before I came back from college. Bowman Gray's a fantastic racetrack. It's definitely a bucket list item for you to go check. Josh, I am part of the show. My opinion matters. so we'll start with you, AJ. I don't know if you've been to Bowman Gray, if you like it, if you want to race there. I wouldn't, because I wouldn't mess with the cops. But before we get into it, it is track protocol that during a wreck, both car and driver are to proceed to the pits. That's part of the rules. That's the reason why apparently the cop pulled the gun out. That's all I'm saying. So, AJ, Bowman Gray, yay or nay?
Yeah, sure.
There you go.
I like Bowman Gray. I got a short
We're gonna
story
get
about
deep
that.
here,
I
guys.
went there with Hot Pockets one time years ago, and that's when Brian Kramer he was too young to run the Northern Tour, so we went there when he ran the Smart Tour, and when he got introduced out on the track, I walked out with him, and they were throwing beer cans at us, calling us Yankees.
My God.
It was awesome. It was great. I love Bowman Gray. I'd go back for sure.
I hate everything about it. I can't wait till the car ends up in the stands and then they have to close it.
All right. Kyle, Bowman Gray, yay or nay?
I'm gonna have to say yay.
There you go.
I've never been there. But just watching videos on YouTube, and my buddy Austin McCurdy lives down there, and him sending me videos every Saturday night. It's you get a good laugh about it, and you got Burt Myers and Tim Brown that run down there. They're class acts.
It's funny you mentioned that. Tim Brown, I've met Tim Brown, probably one of the nicest guys I've met in the pit area. Minus Kyle
And it's
Scisco.
awesome watching him race.
Right, no, I agree. And he's a class act, and him and Myers put on a good show. And I tell you
The
what,
three-way, good time.
about 98% of those cars down at Bowman Gray Stadium all have at least one sponsor on the car. So there's a reason. The seats sell. The seats sell.
Oh, no, it sells. It's not.
If the shoe fits, wear it.
It doesn't
But
fit.
why is the track packed every single week then? You know what I mean?
Because race fans are stupid.
There's nothing to do within 40 miles around.
No, come on.
That's a joke. That's a joke.
And plus,
Busted job.
what's it? It's
Racing's
$10.
big down south, man.
It's like
Racing's huge.
it's like $10 to get in there, correct?
It is cheap. I think
Yeah.
a pit pass was like $25.
That's the equivalent of like 25 or 30 up here.
Jeez, Josh.
It is. What's minimum wage down there?
$7.25.
Being aggressive.
I think it's a dump. It needs to be bulldozed. They shouldn't
I
play
do have
football.
to say, though, personally,
He's got
I
their
think that Concord is a way better track,
Thank you.
but they don't get any.
I agree. But I have an opinion on that, Kyle, and I'm not going to say because that's a whole other episode of the RPM podcast.
Really?
You need big motor to run a Concord.
Yeah.
Bowman Gray, you can pull out a street stock motor and be competitive.
And I know the people who operate
Yeah.
Concord, and I don't want to offend them. So another time in the RPM podcast.
Yeah, they shouldn't even be put in the same conversation as this dump.
Okay. So,
I
anyway-
hate that track.
It's such a great racetrack, Josh.
I like Bowman Gray.
Let me tell you tell me how you really feel, Josh. I'd really like
So
At least I'm honest on this show.
we're gonna shift gears from Bowman Gray and Concord Speedway to Stafford, where our very own Tim Riggleman was this past weekend. Tim, how'd your weekend go spotting for Mr. Goodale?
It was good. We actually had a really good car. They had a different rule where you could only change one tire.
What kind of gas could you use?
Not AJ's gas. We
bought it from
we
Fuel.
we went with hopefully there would be a caution within 20 laps of the end of the race, and there was, and we got lucky enough with that, and we ended up third when we're on. It's good because we got the monkey off our back finally. We've had a rough season, so
You guys were all weekend up there, Timmy.
Yeah, we were good. AJ was there with Jimmy. It was good. I can't wait to go to Thompson tomorrow. I'll be there tomorrow.
When are you leaving for that?
9:30.
Oh boy!
As soon as you take the headset off.
As soon as you let me out of this dump.
And you guys have the Bud 150 this tomorrow at Thompson.
Tomorrow, correct.
So Tim Riggleman's on the move, folks. Just
On
not
the
to
moon?
Canada. On the move.
It sounds like moon.
Oh, whatever. Whatever, Josh. My opinion matters on this podcast, damn it.
Yeah.
I hope you're ready, boy.
This is definitely the race tomorrow is definitely on my bucket list to win after we lost John there. So it's been 11 years.
Yep.
I've been trying to win that for him. So maybe tomorrow's the day.
Well, good luck to you, Tim.
Thank you.
Yeah, good luck to you, man. Good luck, man.
What they
You
say?
you guys running a Troyer or a Spafco?
I'm not 100% sure on
Or is
that.
that top secret?
I don't know. I honestly don't know that until I get there tomorrow.
AJ, maybe if you tell him your sandwich, he'll tell you the chassis.
Gotta be there to buy one.
Kyle Scisco, you can quick check. We'll pay you to come back on the RPM podcast. That was great. That was great.
You guys got yourself a deal there.
And the race was won by Doug Kobe, I do believe. And
Yes.
Woody got second. He finally had a good run.
Thank
too.
you, Tim.
Oh, you're welcome.
I appreciate it. That's why we keep Tim around.
And are you running Sunday?
Josh, let me host this damn podcast. Give me an excuse to talk to Alexis because she's been ignoring me all day.
Sam, what happens after?
Whatever.
Go ahead, Josh.
Sam, what happens after
The Saturday night at Wall Stadium?
Yes.
Alexis races on the Sunday series.
Oh,
Alexis, I heard you finished third. Is that true in the Sunday series?
Yes.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Did you have a lot of fun?
Yeah.
How did the cart feel?
Good.
Good? Did it feel good to go left?
Yeah.
Okay, good. There you go. That's good. Do you want to say anything? Any sponsors? Anyone that helped you out? You're looking to Tim? You're looking for your
You want
dad?
Daddy to say your sponsors?
No.
Chucky's a sponsor. Chucky donated some wheels and tires.
Yes. We have very many people that help us with that. I can't thank them all enough. As far as Alexis goes, Freeman Hotel used to be owned by Richie Evans, now owned by Tommy and Tara Farrell. They help us out a lot. Riggleman Towing, we never got his check, but he does help us out a lot.
Wait, who? What?
No, that's tough, boy.
And of course, can't forget Grandpa Blewett. Grandpa Blewett takes very, very good care of my kids. So, thank you, and thank you to Alan Brenner and all the crew there for having us.
Put on the Sunday series.
They do a wonderful job, and they had an ice cream truck there for the kids after the race.
I thought I saw water balloons.
They had a water balloon fight. Yeah.
That when I saw that, no offense to the Sunday series, Alan and Deb and all them, I thought that was such a bad idea.
They really do.
Sam, it's happening this week, too.
I know, Kyle. What's that, AJ?
All that whole crew, everybody over there on Sundays, you know what I mean? They do that. They do a lot of that, and
Yes.
they do a great job. That's why I started racing. And they always took care of all the kids, always. That's what's awesome.
I mean, they're doing that, and because they love it. Especially, I mean, the people that are there Saturday night putting up with all the BS from all the drivers whining and complaining, and then going back to pour their hearts out for this track and for the kids
Right.
to do this. And I think it's incredible, and they don't get enough credit for it. And I think it's awesome. What's that?
Shout out to them, definitely. They do a lot over there. And I think they're unappreciated most of the time. But, like I said, you have to be there to realize how much they really do. It's awesome.
Yeah, and then, because, I mean, I love just when Diane comes around with ice pops
Right.
on those really hot days because, I mean, that's thoughtful. It almost seems a little silly, but it is really nice, and it's fun, and it's a good interaction, and I love that they do these water balloon things for the kids. As long as they don't throw them onto the track,
Right.
then...
Oh, no, I think it's a great idea, and we need to keep more kids involved because Alexis is the future of Wall Stadium Speedway.
Absolutely.
And not to take your job away, Sam, but Bailey did finish fourth, and Alex Rogers, son of Mark Rogers, won the race.
Okay.
So
I believe Mark was there 2 weeks ago at Wall Stadium.
yeah, he races the Purple 12.
He does.
every so often. Yeah.
Jason's old car.
So the future of Wall Stadium is alive and well on the Sunday series. So.
Well, that's good to hear. And they got a bunch of water balloons and ice pops. So they'll be taken care of.
I have a question for Alexis.
Uh-oh. Go ahead, Kyle.
Do you have any plans of moving up into the big cars and racing around Wall Stadium and having your dad spot for you?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to ask that question, Kyle, because Tim is staring you down right now.
Hopefully, Daddy's checkbook at that point in time can handle it. Uncle Scott's going to have to step up a little bit for that.
Sorry, Nancy, gotta go.
Well, before we tie the bow up here on the 108th episode of the RPM podcast, AJ, do you have any sponsors and one you want to thank for your win this past weekend?
There's so many people that helped me out over the years to get me where I am. I really just got to thank, my wife first of all. She lets me go to the shop 5 nights a week. Really just lets me do whatever I want when I want. No arguments. The Monjo family, Monjo Engineering, they helped me out. They got me set up real good. My car owner, Roy Pacall. Total Pipe, Steve West. And, there's just so many people. The Blewitts, they've always supported me. And the track for staying there and being there. So that's really about it. I appreciate you guys having me on tonight.
I appreciate you being on here, AJ. Now, Kyle, I want to return the favor to you. Have any sponsors, anybody helped you out along this season you had so far at Wall?
Yeah, and just like AJ said, I think Wall is one big family and everyone helps out so much. But for me personally, I got to thank Frankie Boardwick, my motor builder, Frankie's brother Bobby for B&B Paving, Johnny at Meg Wheels, Lisa and Billy at Bryce's Napa, the chapter and the chapter house in the Ivy League. They came on board this year, and I couldn't be more excited to have them and get that win for them a couple weeks ago. Obviously, my mom and my dad, Richie Hallgren. He runs the parts truck, but he's at the shop 5 nights a week, turning wrenches with my dad. Like I said, my buddy Jimmy and Frank. Everyone helps me out in the pits. Wouldn't be possible without them.
Well, that's good to hear. Go ahead, Tim.
Kyle just mentioned the big racing family. I grew up with Brian as a kid and everything, and when we first got into go-kart racing, I needed a hauler, and Kyle, your grandfather and Brian were nice enough to give me the box van that was at Glen Osborne's. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
The old box van.
Yeah, and your dad's like, if you get it running, you're more than welcome to use it. If you come to find out that it's not going to be for you, just junk it and give me the money. So we got it running. It would run, and we got it to move a little bit. And then I got into the back of it, and I fell right through the floor in the back. Grandpa Blewett's yelling at me. What are you doing with this thing? Get rid of this thing. Junk this thing. I'm like, okay, Grandpa, junk it. Give the money to Glenn Osborne and tell him to give it to Brian Scisco. But thank you very much for that. I mean, I tried. It didn't work out, but I'm still very appreciative of that. So make sure you tell your dad, your grandfather.
No problem. And that was pretty cool when we first got the car, together and stuff and had the box fan sitting there. And I was like, Dad, let's get that thing running. I'll use that for my first car and drive to school every day. And he's like, you can't afford gas in that thing. It's just cool. So many memories in that thing.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I tried, boy. It just wasn't having it.
After mentioning Osborne's, got to thank them too. We actually keep the car over at their house, and my dad and Glenn grew up together, and now I growing up with Glenn's son Brian, and we both get along, and which is cool. And we're able to keep the car there, and it's so convenient right around the corner from Wall Stadium.
That's amazing. I love seeing that so many people are still involved and fully involved with this track and this sport. I know it cycles through. I know I haven't raced much other than last Turkey Derby, thanks to Tim O'Shea helping me out. But being able to still be involved and seeing all these people and strong fields throughout and great racing. It's good. And Sam, looks like you have...
we mentioned here on the RPM podcast a lot how big the racing family really is. And thank you again, AJ and Colin, for coming on the show. No! Not everything's about you, Josh.
That was your quarter midget days.
But in reality here, what we do here on the RPM podcast is just as a small taste of how big and how supportive the whole racing community is as a whole. And I'm really glad that AJ, Tim, and all of us had a chance to discuss that again, because we seem to lose sight in it all to Guns and Bowman Gray and Brian France stupidity.
Oh, speaking of which, I just a weird question. No, the whole Brian France thing or whatever. I doubt the road to recovery applies to him, but we've seen we've seen what with Allmendinger coming back, and then Allgaier's I'm assuming going to follow the same kind of path, hopefully. But why did Mayfield get no shot? Like, was there no road to recovery at the time?
That depends on whose side of the story you listen to.
Right. And you said Allgaier. I don't think Allgaier got
No, Gallagher. Noah Gallagher.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
fun fact, Justin Allgaier didn't do drugs.
What? There's A's and L's and
Not
G's
yet.
and whatever.
Not that they know of, right?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness me. I don't know, and I think Tim has a great point. Dinners with Racers do a great coverage.
No. Listen to this one.
Of the RPM podcast, of the Jeremy Mayfield story. No, well, they actually have Jeremy Mayfield on his show. So a little subtweet there.
Okay, I remember Eric Graham's one of his proudest moments was being able to black flag Jeremy Mayfield at Turkey Derby.
And I had Juan Paulo Montoya yell at me at Daytona. That was a good time.
We're making connections every day.
That's right. So, ready to do what we learned today?
Yeah, sure. I'm going to start with Nick. What have you learned today?
If they listen to us, they want spoilers. And finally, Eric Graham's proudest moment is being black flagged.
No, getting to black flag.
But Sam, I'm going to finish Sam's thought, because you were about to say the Juan thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was with his son, right, in Daytona?
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see that this year.
Oh, boy.
It's going to be a good time.
Oh, boy.
All right, next up, Alexis, what have you learned?
I don't know.
You don't know? You didn't learn anything?
Oof.
Okay, all right, fine. Tim, what did you learn today?
I learned Sam had no control of the show tonight.
Yeah.
Fair enough. AJ, what did you learn today?
I learned you did a great job, and Kyle Scisco is still driving number 12, original number 12, not just the new style one.
I dropped the thing.
Okay.
Sorry. All right, Kyle, what have you learned today? Hello?
I learned that I better be at the track this weekend to try AJ's sandwich.
Yeah, good call. Good call.
Fair enough.
Hey, can I give a quick shout out to Eric Brennan?
No.
My man,
Go ahead, AJ.
Eric Brennan. He, I just want to give him a shout out. He wrote something real nice about me on Facebook, and I just want to let him know, it really means a lot, and I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, when you see him, tell him we're looking for him.
I do have to say myself, Eric Brennan is a class act. Even not racing as much, Eric always sending me Facebook messages, and every time I see him, he's just a really nice guy, and giving me the shout outs at Wall and Facebook and stuff, just like AJ was saying. Even not knowing me, just being a good guy.
I think he just has a crush on you.
Okay.
All right.
Sam, what have you learned today?
I learned that Alexis doesn't enjoy talking to me. I learned that chunkin is a thing. That I like the Outcast. We got Tim turned down. Scott needs to be Uncle Scott needs to fork up some sponsorship money for Tim.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
Alexis wants to move up, not down. Tim doesn't sleep because apparently you'll be at Thompson tomorrow morning. Grandpa Blewett doesn't mess around. Tim and box fans don't get along, and I am out of a job here on the RPM podcast. My tenure here is over, like Eric Brennan.
Come on.
Anyway, I'll wrap it up with today I learned that your package doesn't matter if it rains.
Pretty strong words.
Nick said it.
Oh, boy.
Nick's in another world right now.
Oh, we lost AJ.
Oh, AJ went.
He's still there. He's just dark.
Yeah.
There you go.
I also learned that opening the slot does nothing.
Oh, boy.
I learned that getting into the big stuff is moving forward. According
Right,
to AJ,
yes.
anyway. Sam can't say delicious tropical food.
Delicious tropical food.
There you go. And I learned that I need to run the heavy Honda class.
I wonder if they're gonna have Spam for Hawaiian.
That's a good point. Or
I
like
want my-
pineapple pizza.
I want pineapple pizza right now.
All right.
And if you say it's bad, screw all of you.
Well, with that, folks, I got AJ and Kyle on the screen. Tim, Alexis, Josh, Nick Rendo. Unfortunately, I'm Sam Bauer Jr. I will no longer see you here on the RPM podcast because I got a bunch of hosts that I'd love to take over my job. We
Elliot
appreciate
Wall able to fill the hole.
We appreciate you guys listening to the show. Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe to us on iTunes. We want to give away these T-shirts, folks. AJ and Kyle, subscribe to us on freaking iTunes. You get a freaking T-shirt. Don't forget to do it, folks.
Copy.
There you go.
Make sure you share the video tomorrow.
Yeah, share this. Share the love. We're going to only get bigger from here. And we'll see you next week on the RPM podcast. Have a good night, everybody.
Go to Wall.
Take care.